All right, so for this section, we are given a graph, and for the graph shown in each problem, we must determine the y-intercept, x-intercept, slope, domain, and range. So in our first example, number 13, we want to find our y-intercept first. So the y-axis is this guy. This vertical line over here is our y-axis. So our y-intercept is right over here where our line touches the y-axis. So I can see that I touched the y-axis at the height of 3. So our y-intercept is 0, 3. We are just naming the point. So 0, 3. Then we're moving on to our x-intercept. I'm going to do it in a different color. Our x-intercept is where your graph touches the x-axis. This horizontal line is the x-axis. So where did our graph touch that? It's right over here at 4. So you must name the point as 4, 0. Remember, x comes before y, so we have 0, 3, 4, 0. These are our intercepts. All right, let's go on to the slope. So you can find the slope by connecting any two points on your line. I'm just going to connect our these two, our two intercepts. I'm going to make a little triangle out of that so you can visualize how to see slope. And I like to read the triangle from left to right. So from the left, I see that I went down 3. Notice I'm going down 3. And then continuing there, I go right 4. So down 3, right 4. Now the formula for slope is rise over run. So I'm going to put my rise. Rise is the up-down direction. Right, up, down. And I can see I went down 3, so that's a negative 3. Because I went down, down is negative. And then I see I went to the run. The run is the left-right direction. I went right, so that's a positive number. I went right by 4, so I have a positive 4 over here. My slope is negative 3 over 4. So down 3 and right 4 gave me the negative 3 over 4 slope. Finally, let's go to domain and range. So these, I know they don't have arrows, but I want you to treat them like they do because they should. So for the domain, you're going to be looking at all the possible x values. That means you're going to be looking at how far left and right does your graph go. So let's start on the left. If I follow my graph all the way to the left, I see this arrow, which means it will continue going left forever and ever to infinity and beyond. So that means we start off all the way at negative infinity. Let's take a look at the right side. I see my graph going all the way to the right and continuing on forever and ever because there's an arrow there. So if I go all the way to the left and I also go all the way to the right, all you have to write is all real numbers. Okay, so the domain is all real numbers. And then let's talk about the range. The range is the up-down direction. So let's see on the bottom. Let's start on the bottom. We have this arrow which points down and to the right, so it is pointing downwards. And it's going to continue pointing down forever and ever and ever, which means we go all the way to negative infinity. Let's look at the top of our graph. We have another arrow on the top going upwards and upwards forever and ever and ever, which means we will continue going up forever, all the way to positive infinity. So we go all the way down and we also go all the way up. You can just write all real numbers. Okay, so both the domain and range are all real numbers in this case. So if you have any questions, you can let me know. Let's go on to number 14. So number 14 is a flat line, so it's a little bit different, but we can still calculate the y-intercept, x-intercept, slope, domain, and range for it. So for part A, we have the y-intercept. Remember, the y-intercept is where we touch our y-axis, and I see that over here at negative 4. So our y-intercept should be 0, negative 4. Remember to write your x first, which is 0, and then the y, which is negative 4. Then for the x-intercept, that's where we touch this line. This is our x-axis. But since we have a flat line that's parallel to the purple x-axis, we will have no x-intercept. None. We do not touch the x-axis, so there is no x-intercept. And also, when you have a completely flat line like this, let me write slope. Slope is rise over run. If you have a completely flat line, your rise is 0. You don't rise at all. You're just completely a flat line. There's no up and down direction. It's just completely flat, so the rise is 0. The run is, who cares what the run is? 0 divided by anything is just 0. So if you have a flat line, your slope is 0. This is for flat line graphs. Okay? All flat line graphs will have a slope of 0. Let's talk about domain. Domain is the left and right direction. As you can see, we have an arrow both in the left and the right direction. So all you have to do is write all real numbers. And then the range is the up and down direction. So our graph doesn't move up and down at all. Our graph only stays flat. So we must talk about the range. We cannot say it's all real numbers because the range doesn't go up to 5. It stays at -4. The range doesn't go down to -7. It stays at -4. And so the way you write that is you write y is equal to -4 because the up-down direction is defined by the y value, and our y value is only at -4. It's only at this height of -4. It doesn't go up to -2. It doesn't go up to 9. It stays at the -4 height the entire time. So your range, you have to write y is equal to -4. Okay? So if you have any questions, make sure you call me over. If you don't have questions, then you are free to work on this, the rest of this. So the rest of this is the skills practice assignment. So you guys are to do all of these problems on your own. Here are some review. They are review from the last time, but you just plug in the number in the parentheses, plug that number into your equation. For these, this is just like what we just did. So all of these, you have to write the x-intercept, the y-intercept, slope, domain, range. And that's it. So call me over if you have any questions.